Welcome everybody. I am the air quotes comedian, a man who will happily lend you a fiver at a 0% interest rate and who will also happily break your legs if you try to pay interest on it. And this is the Polemics Podcast. Welcome. This bit I'm doing right now was added at the last minute, right? Because the actual script was finished a few weeks ago. So today I was on the YouTube watching Russell Brand's podcast, and he covered the same subject as I'm just about to cover. I'm not saying Russell Brand hacked into my computer and downloaded my script, because that would be ridiculous. But thinking about it, I think that is what happened. He just changed all the words and went into finer detail to make it look like it was his own material. But it isn't, it's my material. There's absolutely no chance we arrived at the same subject matter because, possibly, we read the same kind of news sources. No, that's not it, not a chance. Anyway, let's get on with it. Being working class and poor, which is what I am, doesn't make for an easy life. I don't get paid for working as a comedian, so to make ends meet, I decided to get one of those payday loans, my understanding of which is that you don't have to pay them back until you get paid, and as I don't get paid, I wouldn't have to pay them back at all. Pays to be a genius, right? Well, not so much, mainly because most of us live in the real world where we accept things like facts, election results, and laws and the lack of financial loopholes for paupers like us. I do have a paying job. I'm a healthcare professional, so while I'll never kill an audience with any of my shoddy comedy routines, I do manage to kill my patients regularly, so it all balances out in the end. Anyway, I looked into getting a payday loan because, god damn it, I want that novelty dildo I've had my eye on before my paycheck is deposited into our bank account in 3 days' time. Unfortunately, after some cursory research, I discovered that interest rates for payday loans can range anywhere from 390 to north of 800%, and that doesn't include the finance charges they slap on top of it all, like a worm-filled cherry on top of a chocolate cake made of shit. I guess I'll have to wait until Friday to shove that Dora the Explorer dildo up my arse. I suspect you may have some questions, dear viewer. Not about the novelty dildo, because we all know I just pulled that out my arse. Questions like, who the fuck are you getting a loan from where the interest rate is north of 800%? Could it be Alessi the Anvil Alessandro, who has hands the size of ham hocks and looks like the sort of person you wouldn't want to see up a dark alley? I'm disappointed in you, dear viewer. Just because Alessi can bench press a Ford pickup truck doesn't mean she's not a nice lady. To answer the question though, no, these are the interest rates, or to use a different term, the VIG, charged by payday loan businesses that somehow aren't breaking any laws. Some US states passed legislation that put a cap on how much these loan sharks, legitimate businesses can charge. The payday loan industry complained that such measures could put them out of business, and they said it with a straight face as though it was a bad thing. Naturally, the payday loan industry has found ways to circumvent state laws and the will of the people who overwhelmingly support the regulations. Isn't it great that corporations can just sidestep democracy and just do whatever the fuck they want? Being working class and poor, which is what I am, doesn't make for an easy life. I have debts, much like most people I suppose. Huge medical debts despite having health insurance, car payments, that Ferrari isn't going to pay for itself, and my outstanding account balance to Wally and Wildo's novelty dildos. You know who doesn't need to be in debt? Rich people, yet the wealthy will often take out loans in order to avoid paying taxes. It is precisely because they don't actually need to borrow money that they get favourable interest rates. Billionaire founder of the Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, who, you'll remember, is a cunt, refinanced one of his houses in 2012. The interest rate on that loan was 1%, which, let's do the arithmetic here. Yeah, I double checked the numbers. 1% is a lot fucking less than 800%. The problem is that capitalism's outlook is arse backwards. Poor people pay more for goods and services than rich people and also pay more taxes. A loan will cost an economically disadvantaged person much more than a rich cunt, and the lender justifies this by saying there's more risk lending money to a poor person, and so hike the interest rate so fucking high that the statement becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Being poor and a small country in the global south, which is what I am, yes, for the purposes of this next bit, I'm a small country in the global south. Last week we had a bit of a revolt and managed to kick out our European colonial power to the curb. Years of exploitation, cultural and actual genocide and the plundering of our natural resources came to an abrupt end. Unfortunately, due to years of exploitation, cultural and actual genocide and the plundering of our natural resources, we didn't have much in the piggy bank to rebuild our country, so we went to the International Monetary Fund for a payday loan, little knowing that we were in for years of exploitation, cultural and actual genocide and the plundering of our natural resources. See, what I wanted to do, as a small country in the global south, was implement some decent social programs for my people. Free healthcare, free education, a welfare safety net, housing, novelty dildos for everybody, you know, things that are a basic human right. The folks at the IMF didn't like that very much, so they fucked around with the interest rate and otherwise just made it so that no matter what we did, the loan would never be paid off. Then they'd do things like suggest that we needed to do the whole austerity thing. A private, unaccountable loan shark telling us what policies we should implement in our own fucking country. It comes as no surprise that most countries in the global south have paid the principal of their debt many times over, but that there is no impetus to cancel the debt because trillions of dollars are involved and, due to these countries being beholden to usury, policies can be guided in global south countries by outside agencies. See, it's outrageously unjust and undemocratic shit like this that makes me an anti-capitalist. In an anarchist system, there are no loans. What there is instead is mutual aid. Nobody's dictating the policy in your fucking neck of the woods when they're helping you dig out an irrigation system, are they? Oh yes, we'll happily dig some ditches for you, but we demands that you stop providing novelty dildos to those cunts on Woolstead Green. Doesn't work like that, does it? I'm going to call it a night on this episode of The Polemics. I don't think it was very funny, to be honest, but I have no idea how to make this particular subject amusing. So, because it really was so shit, you'd be fully justified to hit that dislike button. Once you've done that, you can fuck off, can't you?